All are welcome indeed. Good morning, everybody. As Cole mentioned, I've been a member here for 22 years. Rather involved, as one might say, as a pastor's kid and resident feral church child turned young adult. But I'm Karin Berdahl. Glad to be here this morning. I was asked to give a bit of a temple talk on RIC, Reconciling in Christ, as we as a church are preparing to head towards that milestone. So, here are some of my thoughts for you. This past May, I graduated from college with dual degrees in public relations and writing. Fair to say, I have a decent handle on stringing words together in an effective way. Yet I struggled with writing this talk. There's a nebulousness about this topic that can cloud the central, tangible nugget of information. This is who I am, and this is the situation. I'll do my best to explain what is happening in the world and in my heart, and I welcome further conversation later if things remain murky. I want to acknowledge that this can feel like a blaming situation. I want to reassure that that's not the intention. I invite you to gently ask any ego that flares up to head to our lovely gathering space for a cup of coffee while we discuss a situation based on love. 4 years ago, I stood at the open mic of a synod assembly as LYO president, representing the youth of our synod. The synod was discussing the details of wording for a bylaw change in relation to the LGBTQIA+ community. I spoke of a friend who had recently come out as bisexual, who, when I invited her to a Wednesday night Lenten dinner, needed to be reassured that this was a church that actually wanted her here. The details of the change were not as important as giving the clear message that all children of God are welcome in our synod. This wasn't a time to be pedantic. We needed that change now. A year later, I came out myself as bisexual. Labels are personal things, and everyone interprets what specifically that means for them. In my case, it means that I'm attracted to people of all gender identities. That year was my first summer working at our VLM camps. I walked into training week and saw this beautiful person with bright blue hair. Within the week, my journal had the lines, "I think I have a crush on Ani," followed immediately in parentheses, "I definitely have a crush on Ani." By the end of the summer, we were dating, and just this past month, moved in together down in St. Paul. Many of you have met Ani. I've excitedly brought her into this church, my second home, and introduced her to this beloved extended family of mine. We had the joy of leading music for service a couple weeks back. I admit to some nervousness about how my love of this woman would be received by my church family. I didn't need to be. You all welcomed her with open arms and reassured me that I was safe, welcomed, and loved in this space. So there's my cute little gay backstory. Now for the point of me being in front of you today. This church is taking steps to become an RIC church, Reconciling in Christ, meaning that we are pledging to ensure the welcome, inclusion, celebration, and advocacy for people of all sexual orientations, gender identities, and gender expressions, work for racial equity, and commit to anti-racist work and support of the national program. Today, I'm going to talk about the LGBTQIA+ side of things. This phrasing is such an important step in itself. Reconciling, defined as to cause to coexist in harmony, make or show to be compatible, and restore friendly relations between. Why is this important? Well, let's be honest. The church has not really been good to members of the LGBTQIA community. It's been one of the biggest antagonists of this act of living in authenticity. From hatred being spewed from pulpits and congregants to conversion therapy, where the authentic self is attacked mentally, physically, and emotionally. The church has taught that this love is wrong. Funnily enough, I can't find a place in the Bible where Jesus said, just this kind of love and not that kind. These facts are hard to live with and to live in. I have grown up in this church, raised by 2 pastors. The whole God thing was decently important in my life. There can be a sense of guilt to loving a structure that has caused so much pain. Your response to these ideas might be, well, I have always been loving and welcoming, and our church isn't hurting people. We love everyone and have always welcomed all. Lutheran Church of the Good Shepherd is indeed the best of all churches, in my humble opinion. I'm standing in front of you today, discussing one of the most vulnerable parts of myself, and I am not scared of being alienated by this family. But as a Lutheran church, as a church period, we are connected to the umbrella of Christianity, and it is under that umbrella that so much hurt has been enacted. By becoming an RIC church, we take steps to right these wrongs. I've heard comments of, if we simply do the welcoming and loving piece, is the RIC not just a marketing label? The simple answer is yes, but wow, is it important marketing. My auntie is a youth director down at a church in West St. Paul. On my first visit to that church, I found a peer working a Sunday school registration table. We got to chatting about the church and eventually got to the question, is it RIC? No, we're trying, but it's about a 50-50 split. Hearing that, my understanding of this church becomes, 50% of people here don't think that the treatment of the queer community, of which I and my partner are a part of, for the past ever, was problematic. They would be okay if myself and my partner and anyone else were treated that way now, today, tomorrow. And that doesn't really provide a person with feelings of comfort, safety, or love. The role of the church is shifting in today's society, and fewer young people are seeking out a church family, often due to harm they have experienced in the church, or by church people. At the same time, these younger people are having difficulty finding multi-generational communities that love them as they are. An RIC church can take down some of the obstacles for some people trying to find a community. 2 of my past female camp counselors, heroes in my mind, got married last year and moved to Duluth. They were looking for a church to join, and I enthusiastically recommended LCGS. I gave quite the pitch, including the youth and children's programming, the congregational and community involvement, and my personal recommendation of the leaders, which at the time still included my father. Then came the question, are they RIC? No, I had to say. That couple now belongs to First Lutheran Church. They were looking for a community that had done the work, the extra step in announcing to the world that they were a safe and loving place for the LGBTQIA community, and that this church hadn't done that yet. Isn't it just a marketing thing? Yes, in the way that smiling at a person is a marketing of self as a friend, and the shaking of a hand is marketing for a connection being built. Reconciliation occurs after an apology addresses a rift between 2 parties. By becoming a Reconciling in Christ church, a congregation acknowledges the incredible pain its larger body has caused, acknowledges that it was wrong to have happened, and is apologizing. It is becoming the kind of church that actually lives out what it teaches, that all are welcome and we love as our Heavenly Parent does. The vote for us to become a Reconciling in Christ church is going to occur in February. Leading up to that point, you can prepare yourself or learn more by attending forums, reading the Synod position statement, and having loving and thoughtful conversations with each other. Thank you for being the loving church family that you are.